everyone. I'm Kristen Hawkins, and welcome to this new episode, exclusively Pro-Life Podcast. As you know, we are in a series on winning pro-life tactics. And today we have my good friend, Karen Garnett. She is the VP, the Vice President of Culture at Heroic Media. She has agreed to come on and share with us a little bit about what's happening at Heroic Media, what they're doing to save lives and transform our culture. But I also, Karen, I want to have you talk a little bit about your experience in Dallas. You founded this mega outreach there within the Archdiocese of Dallas. I think at the time it was the largest diocesan pro-life effort. You guys, I know you guys are like famous for having like the country's largest pro-life banquet every year with like 2,800 people, almost 3,000. I'm probably even off at this point. You guys have had some mega success in Dallas. So thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Kristen. It's great to be with you.
So you must have gotten started in the pro-life movement 80s, 90s. When was that?
It was in 1989 is when I actually first started volunteering. So Roe v. Wade was 16 years old at the time? Yep. 1973. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you got involved in the late 80s. When did you kind of get this idea, hey, we need to do something within our archdiocesan offices? Because I feel like I get this question a lot from folks of like, oh, if only our church, if our parish would do more, would step up and speak up. And I mean, I have the stats so you can prove that we really do need the churches and our priests and our bishops to speak up more. How did you get that, I guess, idea of like, we need to do something more here?
Well, I definitely cannot take the credit. So I lived in Virginia. I was 10 years old when the Roe v. Wade decision was handed down. I was immediately aware of it because of the pastor in our church pounding his fist on the podium, on the pulpit, just saying, how can this be possible? So there were abortion is murder bumper stickers that were handed out to everyone in the parish. It went on the back of the family station wagon. And then that was 73, 6 years later, my family moved to Dallas, Texas, the city where Roe v. Wade began. But it was in 1993, early 93. Roe was 20 years old, and it was the Bishop of Dallas, Bishop Charles Grumman, who commissioned our Catholic Pro-Life Committee. It was first called the Bishop's Pro-Life Committee back then, and I was commissioned on that founding committee. I became the founding executive director of what's now called the Catholic Pro-Life Community, CPLC for short. So it was the bishop. There was already a lot of grassroots activity going on in Dallas. We are the city where Roe v. Wade began. And there's a tremendous energy here in Dallas with so many thousands of people in the pro-life community who are committed to being involved in the battle. And so it was actually Bishop Grumman and a group of activists. He had started praying the rosary the second Saturday of every month outside the original abortion facility in Dallas and the state of Texas. Second Saturday of every month. That was my first kind of call. I'd been volunteering from home since 89, but in January of 90 was the first time the bishop put out the call to join him for the rosary. And Flip Benham, who was with Operation Rescue, he lived here at the time. So Flip would stand alongside the bishop, and we would pray, and then Flip would preach. So it was very ecumenical from the beginning. That was in 90. And in 93, 20 years Roe, the bishop decided to commission our committee to implement the U.S. Bishop's Pastoral Plan for Pro-Life Activities, which was it was issued by the bishops in 1974, a year after Roe. But most dioceses stopped at step one of the plan, which was to have a diocesan pro-life coordinator. Mm-hmm. So we had a wonderful priest who was a volunteer who was in that position for those first 20 years. But the step two of the pastoral plan is to have a committee. You cannot end abortion in your community with one person. So he commissioned our committee. And then from that, we studied the plan, and the Holy Spirit was just all over our efforts. And we ended up forming 9 separate ministries under the pastoral plan, 5-point plan of prayer, education, public witness, civic action, policy advocacy, and then supportive services, the direct services to the mothers. And so those 9 ministries, we had parish pro-life coordination. We still have CPLC still has all of these outreaches. But parish coordination, liaising with every parish so that every parish would have a parish pro-life group and be involved and plugged in at the parish level, but also at the diocesan level. Prayer, the foundation of all of our efforts. So organize the annual Roe Memorial Mass and the North Texas March for Life, public witness, and Youth for Life for education, Youth for Life, Speakers Bureau, Spanish ministry, doing everything offering everything in the Spanish language. And then in the supportive services areas, sidewalk counseling, and Project Gabriel, walking alongside mothers who are pregnant, and then finally healing after abortion. So the Holy Spirit put all of that together with an amazing team. We had a combination of volunteer, and then it went to many part-time. We still have many part-time, and then a number of full-time. And the bishop started hosting us the annual Bishops Pro-Life Dinner. 2,000 people attend. But yes, it's all of those ministries were in place within the first 6 years, and it's just been going ever since 1993 to 99, and then here it is still. What is this? I don't know. 28 years later.
I know
29.
Former student leaders, I think, is employed by the diocese there. I think he does like full-time sidewalk counseling. And I was talking to him about, and I was like, a diocese is paying you to sidewalk counsel? I mean, it's really incredible if you think about what Dallas has done compared to what other dioceses haven't done. And the leadership that, I mean, thankfully the bishop had the foresight to say, let's actually fulfill this plan. That's incredible. And
let me clarify that we are not, CPLC is not employed by the Diocese of Dallas. Catholic Pro-Life Community is a pro-life entity, a nonprofit organization under the umbrella of the diocese, but it is completely independently funded and managed, board of directors, staff, but yet the bishop is absolutely 100,000% behind all of the efforts. And because the bishop actually hosts the annual pro-life dinner himself every single year for all that, so that's where the majority of the funds are raised to do all of the things that need to be done. I mean, 10,000 lives have been saved on the sidewalk, and we have healing retreats in both English and Spanish. It truly is. It is the work of the Holy Spirit, but yes, the whole pro-life community coming together in a really powerful way.
That's incredible, because I mean, you really don't see what you guys have done in Dallas very many places across the country. I've seen it with, some of the Coalition for Life groups in St. Louis and El Paso have really come together. In Memphis, they're doing a lot of work. But I think you guys are probably, I haven't heard of any other diocese that has a ministry so complex and all encompassing, because you've really built like an entire system of, oh yeah, we can do that, and we're going to work on the sidewalks, and then we're going to help connect women to pregnancy centers, and oh yeah, we're going to make sure everything's in Spanish. Before we get to what you're doing now with Heroic Media and VP of Culture, I can obviously see why they brought you on as VP of Culture, because you know what you're doing. What are some of the best tactics that you think that you guys implemented, tried there in Dallas that others in communities across America could benefit from?
Gosh, well, I would say there is nothing like the power of the invitation. And it's certainly that Dallas has been blessed. Again, Dallas is a city where Roe v. Wade began. And so we also kind of have that going, where we have been able to say what started in Dallas must end in Dallas. Yeah. So there's a lot of, people getting onboarding just because of that. But it's power of the invitation. Certainly the bishop inviting this again for the Catholic community, but sending out that invitation to come to the dinner, to get involved, to support the CPLC ministries, but also 40 Days for Life. We held the second ever 40 Days for Life campaign here in Dallas, and 40 Days for Life is completely ecumenical, as is the North Texas March for Life. And so there's that way of just inviting people to come and participate, and also to take a look at the website for CPLC is prolifedallas.org. And that's where people can go online and look at all the different ways that they can get involved personally. And also, I think the other important thing is it's one-on-one inviting. You know, obviously every one of us can invite somebody else to get involved. But also CPLC was good at, or is good at, doing what it does best and not trying to take on additional things that others are experts in. So for example, CPLC does not need to have its own pregnancy help center. It networks, walks the people. We're in the sidewalk counselors are on the sidewalk in the same medical complex where the abortion facility is and the pregnancy help center. It just, networks so closely, just walk them right over there. We don't need to do that. Don't reinvent the wheel if it's turning very, very well by other organizations. Same thing, CPLC did not need to start a home for pregnant mothers. There are other homes for pregnant mothers, and you network. So it's really, really critical to know who all, not be in silos, and know who are the other, warriors. We're all on the same team, but how can we best network and leverage one another and, communicate, just improve on the communication lines? Those are some of the suggestions that I would make.
It's almost like you've been listening to other podcasts that we've been doing, because this is a common theme. I've been asking all of these leaders, what's your best advice? What are your best nuggets of wisdom? And this is a common theme that we're hearing is breaking down the silos, improving communication. I mean, this is, this is such a huge issue, this issue of abortion. There is enough room for all of the different pregnancy centers in your cities and maternities homes and Right to Life and advocacy groups. Like, there's enough to do for every single person and every single group. And how do you break down those silos? So that I thank you for sharing with that, because I think I think we need to be reminded of that, because it takes work and it takes effort sometimes. Sometimes it's like, it's like when you're delegating a task to a staff member, like sometimes it might just be easier to do on your own for a little bit, but then you realize, had I delegated that to someone else, I could have been using my time to do this. And that's, I think, exactly when you think about partnering too, of, in the long run, you're going to save time, you're going to save resources, and you're going to save money. And those are all things that are limited. Those are scarce resources in the pro-life movement. And every moment we waste, every day we waste, are more children who will lose this battle. So you've taken on this new role. You've kind of, now I saw in your bio, you're like Executive Director Emeritus. That's like an awesome title, by the way, to have to be emeritus, because like you can just like walk in the room and be like, I'm the emeritus. So you left the Pro-Life Dallas. You've gone to Heroic Media. You're now the Vice President for Culture. Can you tell folks, I don't think I've had anybody from Heroic Media on the podcast in the 2 and some years that we've been doing this. So what is Heroic Media, and how are you impacting the culture?
Yes, thanks so much. I really do appreciate this opportunity. And yes, I was super honored when I left CPLC. I had been executive director for 22 years, and they gave me that emeritus title. And we interact, we network, and it's great. But yeah, I came over when I first came to Heroic Media in 2017. My first title was VP of Community Relations and National Expansion, which was very big, a long name, and it's just been kind of getting away from long titles, and just became VP of Culture in November when our new CEO, Brett Atterbury, was elevated to the role of president and CEO by the board of directors. So he was kind of taking a look at everything and seeing how can we just be the most effective in our mission. So Heroic Media was actually founded in 2004 in Austin, Texas, by our founder, Brian Follett. And he and his family were just very, very blessed through business, and he was a major philanthropist. And he, with heart burning for pro-life, he wanted to use his philanthropy to save lives from abortion. And so when Heroic Media first opened, it was a marketing, advertising, advertising company where we were focused on television commercials, and billboards, the kind of mass media advertising that is very expensive and also very hard to measure. So as the world became more technological and internet-based through the 2000s, Heroic Media started to do some internet advertising. Brett, our CEO, Brian stepped away a few years ago to a very young family to focus on his family, but he had brought Brett on back in 2015. And Brett Atterbury, he has an MBA from the Wharton School, and he had 25 years of corporate marketing expertise. Brett's, a little bit on Brett's story is that he was not a Christian growing up. He had lost a child to abortion in his late teens before he was a Christian, didn't really think much about it, came to the Lord, and then came into the Catholic Church, heard a commercial on the radio about a retreat, a healing retreat. Asked if guys could come, they said yes. This was back in 2013. He went for the first time. He, just reconciled with God on the abortion, connected with his child, and prayed, Lord, if you want to use my corporate marketing expertise to even help one couple not make the same mistake that I made so many years ago, I'm willing to be used. And Brian met him very shortly after that, came to her, he left corporate, and has dedicated the rest of his life to helping save lives from abortion. And so it's so cool for me to have, I absolutely love the chapter of my life of working at CPLC. And I'm just so grateful to God for all of the ministries, all of the tactics that are their successful tactics. But one of the things that was always burning for me was that, abortion numbers are coming down, and that's great, but yet, my gosh, there's still, in Dallas, there's still 9,000 abortions a year in Dallas County, and we want it to go down to zero. How is it that we reach the women who need the services? All the services are in place. There is nothing that is not in place and available in the pro-life movement. But what we haven't had is advertising, marketing, dollars. The dollars have all gone into the actual ministry, right? So Brett came and he looked at everything and analyzed everything at Heroic Media, everything that was going on, and basically just said, we have to be so careful, such good stewards with the dollars, especially when it comes to advertising, that unless we can measure it, we should not do it. So the TV commercials went away, and the billboards went away, and the focus came to be on the internet advertising. And so that is Heroic Media's, our overriding purpose is to, as all of us in pro-life, to protect. We're focused on preborn human lives, we're not conception to natural death. Our focus is on ending abortion. So to protect preborn human lives from abortion, because they are unique, sacred, beautiful gifts from God. They're gifts from God. They should not be destroyed. And then Heroic Media's mission is to reach and connect Americans to resources that empower them to act heroically to help save lives from the evil of abortion. So reach, connect, save. Those are our three kind of mission words, our tagline for Heroic Media. And Brett has created, he likes acronyms, he's created something called OASIS, which stands for On Demand Alternatives to Abortion System. So it is extremely expensive to compete head-to-head with Planned Parenthood and the abortion facilities online, because that's where every single girl is. Every single girl is online. And Google just, oh my goodness, the amount of money that Google makes on a pay per click. We absolutely have to be in that space, going head to head, if we have even the chance of being the first line of defense for these moms. Mm-hmm. So the system is that Brett is very, very intentional. And we don't just offer to, oh, hey, are you a pregnancy center and you would like us to do your advertising for you? The system is that the Pregnancy Help Center must be excellent. They must be trained on talking to the abortion-determined woman. And if they're not trained on talking to the abortion-determined woman, but they're much more in the likely to carry, that's the clients that they serve, that's not our partner. So that is what we do. Our first thing that we do, our first way of advertising and reach, connect, save is through that head-to-head advertising to be that first opportunity. And again, we pay Google per click, even if she doesn't call our pregnancy help center partner, right? So it takes a lot of money
That's why I
to be in
always
that
click
space.
the Planned Parenthood ads when I see them on Google,
Oh,
and then
there
I
you
get a
go.
bunch of more ads because I clicked on the one ad. But I know I might click them costing them money.
Yeah. So that's the first way that we advertise. The second is an online video, 30-second online videos to help brand pregnancy help centers against the Planned Parenthood brand because of the Charlotte Lozier Institute study that came out that said this was a mind blower too. Here we are again. We're now 48 years fighting this battle, and 93% of women 18 to 29 had heard of Planned Parenthood and abortion facilities, compared to only 46% who had heard of a pregnancy help center, let alone, even
That's
heard of
actually pretty high according to my numbers that we usually get.
That even heard of a pregnancy help center as a concept, let alone that they would know that there was one in their local community. And we know that now pregnancy help centers, we're at 3,000 pregnancy help centers to whatever, it's 600-700 abortion facilities. There's so many, and so they're all there, but nobody knows. So if women don't know about pregnancy help centers, women won't go to pregnancy help centers. So we're in that space as well. And then the other two things that we do at Heroic Media. So I'm VP of Culture for Heroic Media, and then our National Prayer Luncheon for Life. I'm executive director of our National Prayer Luncheon for Life, and I'm a contributing editor of our ProLife magazine. And the things that are happening on those fields. We had, again, Brian, our founder, had this vision that we would have just like we counter Planned Parenthood every day on online advertising, we would do an annual fundraising luncheon counter to Dallas's and Planned Parenthood's annual fundraising luncheon in Dallas. Same day, same time, different venues. While they're down the street to raise money to kill lives, we were, gathering people to raise funds for our ads to save lives. That luncheon grew to just under 3,000 people last year in 2020, and it was 5 days before the pandemic was announced, and that was the last time we had a crowd that size. But also, Brett has a new vision for National Prayer Luncheon for Life, and that is that it's no longer about Heroic Media. It's not a fundraising event for us. When God gave us the name National Prayer Luncheon for Life, that is meant to be a national prayer luncheon, small in-person gathering, but large virtual, where we will do 1 hour of bringing prayer leaders together to unite us all across the country in prayer. And then what we're saying, what we call our taglines with our 3 words with National Prayer Luncheon for Life are to elevate, celebrate, and accelerate, okay? Where we are elevating in 2 ways, lifting up in prayer, but also elevating the profiles of high impact pro-life organizations, celebrating their work by giving a National Prayer Luncheon for Life Pro-Life Impact Award and 3 grants, one $50,000, one $20,000, one $15,000. So we did this first year. And so that together, united together, we can accelerate winning more of the battles to ultimately get the ball down the field into the end zone and win this war. So Kristen, I just want to congratulate you too, because of the 5 nominees for this first year's new National Prayer Luncheon for Life. Students for Life of America was voted on by pro-lifers across the country. You guys got the first NPLL Pro-Life Impact Award and the $50,000 grant. So we want to congratulate you for the amazing, amazing, amazing work that you guys do. And lastly, it's not just an annual event, but NPLL we're about to launch our Pro-Life Impact Show, where we'll be, again, elevating and celebrating, lifting, raising the profiles of high impact organizations. And again, I'm saying high impact because of the importance of being able to demonstrate measurable impact. That is what is necessary. So, and then the last thing is ProLife Magazine. So Brett also is the founder and executive editor of ProLife Magazine, and same thing. Its purpose is to elevate the profiles of amazing pro-life organizations, because we're in this. I've been around the whole time since Roe v. Wade began. The movement is 48 years old. There are new people coming into the movement all the time, have
Every day.
no idea who's out there, who's doing what. And even David B. Wright and I were talking about, there's like at least 5,000 pro-life organizations across the country. So Pro-Life Magazine exists to do in-depth interviews like we did with you, and then just help get the ball down the field. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now, and it is just an incredible blessing.
That's so great to hear what you guys are doing. You know, I was taking notes while you were talking because I was like, I need to like brief you on some projects we're working on in Dallas. Speaking of breaking down the silo, I need to tell you what we're doing in Dallas because it's very similar of how do we, you know, the research that we've done over the past few years demonstrates that people just don't know about the pregnancy center movement. My thing is always like, give me $1 billion and like 900 million of it's going to go into promoting nonviolent alternatives. That's how we end abortion, because we have resources in place, but she doesn't know about them. And then the person sitting in the pews who, says abortion's wrong, but doesn't really want to become one of those pro-lifers because doesn't really think pro-lifers do anything, or they're just judgmental, they'll actually be more willing to become pro-life and join us on the sidewalks and donate to organizations when they say, wait a minute, all of these resources exist, these alternatives actually do exist, and oh my goodness, it's pro-lifers doing it. It will help change people's mind. Like it is a trickle down effect, domino effect, whatever you want to call it, by promoting the resources. Not only are you going to save lives of those children and women who are in crisis right now, but you're going to change minds, which is going to save lives later. You're going to entice more people to join us. It should spread like wildfire, but you're exactly right. People don't know these resources exist, and we think they do because we're in this movement, but they really, really don't. And we have to be better salesmen, marketers for what we are doing. So I am like so excited to hear what you're doing. I think I need to have a sit down meeting with you and Brett to discuss everything that we're doing at Students for Life. Because I do think there's a lot of synergy there. And I'm very, very excited. I guess one of the things that I would want to, just before we wrap up this kind of session, hopefully you give everybody like your websites and where they can follow the magazine and the National Prayer Luncheon. But what is you've been doing this for a long time, since, when I was still in like preschool, you got started. What is your wisdom that you would want to share? I mean, you've already given some, like breaking down the silos, working together, measuring what you're doing. But is there any other nuggets of wisdom that you could give us? I'm greedy. I want as much wisdom as I can get.
Well, we've hit on it a little bit, but I know David B. Wright is the one who introduced us to one another, I think it was in 2008. But one of the things that we have talked about, which is a really common theme, is the silos. And our movement is it's beautiful. It's amazing. I love Jason Jones. Our friend Jason Jones has given a wonderful, story where he says, pro-life movement is like a symphony. There's all the different instruments. Okay, we all have our part to play. And I was like, yeah. And again, I'm one of the older ones, right? I've been around a little bit longer in it. And I'm like, yeah, it's a symphony, but how well does it sound? How good does it sound? How well do we play?
Are off to the races, and the percussion's playing a different song.
Well, and part of it is, and again, it's not at all saying everybody has to do the same thing, because every instrument is, needs to play itself. However, are we even singing from the same sheet music? So that's one of the things that I speak on, and it was very important to me through all those years at CPLC and then here at Heroic Media as well, because again, in marketing and messaging, the side that controls the narrative, advances the ball, and the other side has absolutely controlled it forever, right? And we know they have the media in their pocket, NPR, there's AP, they have their guidelines. They absolutely have their guidelines on what wording, what words to use, and all of these kind of things. I recently gave a presentation about this very thing. Does the pro-life movement have a lexicon? No. We're all over the map on how we talk. We are very, very intentional. We always say unexpected pregnancy rather than unplanned pregnancy. We don't say crisis pregnancy center. We say pregnancy health center. Again, a little plug here while I've got we've learned to avoid the term post-abortive because it's hurtful to the many who have had abortions. They've spoken up about it, and it's also a word invented by the pro-life movement. It's not even in the dictionary. So how are we going to reach the mainstream if we're using a word that was invented? You can, again, someone who was impacted by abortion or those who are impacted rather than post-abortive. So that's one of the things that I would love to see us improve on. I'm more than happy to share our Heritage Lexicon so people can take a look at it. Does every pro-life organization, even within your own pro-life organization, do you have a style guide? Do you have a lexicon? So we're speaking, common language and singing from the same sheet music. And then the other thing I would say.
That's the second episode we're going to have to do. I'm writing it down right now.
Oh, yeah, sure. Happy to.
I'm bringing you back just on the lexicon.
Okay, awesome. The second thing would be just how do we break down the silos? Here's something I'm going to just really encourage, and I'd love, and I put a plug on here too for our great friend, I think you know her, Janine Marone out of Southwest Florida, who runs the Luncheons for Life. Okay. That's bringing together the leadership of the local pro-life community once a month for a networking luncheon with a speaker. I will tell you, and of course I was raising 5 children, you're raising children too, running through with what God was doing with CPLC and also parenting. And I totally get it on the demands on time. And to this day, even I'm an empty nester, still working on balance, right? Because we're so passionate about this cause. But we were always running so hard. We always had so much to do. It's so important. We can't take time for that. Well, I would say now, looking back, we're 48 years into abortion, fighting this battle. We've got the war. We've got to win it. But if we are not willing to take the time once a month to network, to gather with the other leaders in our local pro-life community, how are we ever going to actually build that network? And if we don't even know each other, we don't know each other's name, or we don't know what each other does. And the last thing I'll say is I'd love to see if you have a big reach through your podcast. If there are any volunteers out there, any people who with the same idea, it's come up, but to this day, as in my knowledge, it still doesn't exist. And that is, our pro-life movement is amazing. It's beautiful. It's diverse. We're tactical. We have all the different, deployments. But you tell me, you cannot go anywhere. There's not a centralized database of what is the pro-life movement in the United States of America. Where is every single pro-life organization at the national, state, local level? What does it even look like? That needs to be done. That still needs to be done, hasn't been done, needs to be done. It needs to be done at the national level, the state level, and absolutely on a local level. What does the pro-life movement actually look like in Dallas, Texas? What does it look like? How many pregnancy centers are there? How many homes for pregnant moms are there? How many healing after abortion, programs are there? I mean, that's one of the things I would just say is that is one of the things that I think would be helpful, is to help, to organize ourselves a little bit better. So that we can win. We're going against the behemoth, right? Planned Parenthood is the giant, and we can beat them, but we could use some a little bit better organization, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is so deeply important, and you're kind of stressing me out a little bit because we've talked about this a lot in the pro-life movement of what we need to do. And at Students for Life, we have a ministry, Standing With You. And so we try to do that very same thing, with student groups of look at your local community, your campus, your broader community, the churches, and what are all the resources that are available to a woman in an unplanned pregnancy, unexpected pregnancy situation, or a mother or a father who's raising a young child, and but it's done from a campus by campus perspective. And I know a couple organizations are trying to do it, but it hasn't been done very well. It's kind of disorganized. We've got Option Line. We've got different resources, but you're right, there's not one thing. Now you're stressing me out because Starting to think about that. So thank you for that. I asked for it and you gave it to me. So thank you. Karen, how can folks connect with Heroic Media and then also the magazine, like so they can get copies of the magazine? I know you guys have a podcast. Like, how can we get connected?
Yes. Thanks so much. So we have 3 websites. So our overall parent company is Heroic Media, and that website is heroicmedia.org. And then National Prayer Luncheon for Life, as I explained what that is nationalprayerlunctionforlife.org. So you can go there. You can actually watch this year's 1-hour program. It was the Holy Spirit was with us. It was absolutely a lot of it was great for his blessing. And the podcast show, we haven't launched yet. We're very, very close to launching, and you're going to be one of our very first guests. So so we're, prayers for that. Appreciate that. But yes, you could find the podcast show link on the website, nationalprayerlunctionforlife.org/ProLife Impact Show. ProLife Impact Show. I'm looking, and then ProLife Magazine. So ProLife Magazine has its own website, which is ProLifeMagazine.org. And there's 3 different subscription levels. You can subscribe for the digital only, for the print only, or for the digital plus print. And if you and it's all on ProLifeMagazine.org. And if you subscribe for the digital or the digital and print, then you have access to every issue that we have that we've published thus far, and including, of course, the one with you. I absolutely loved doing that interview with you, Kristen. Just want to thank you again for your yes and all the stuff that you guys are doing. When I get your emails and you're adding all of these things, you guys are a little army in and of yourself, and we're so grateful for you. We're so grateful for Students for Life. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. Keep us in your prayers. It's as you know, you get into this and the mission grows bigger and bigger by the day as you see just the reach and the scope of the abortion industry. So we've got a lot of things to be very grateful for right now in the pro-life movement. We have so many leaders and amazing new tactics and strategies are winning, but the abortion industry, they're fighting back hard. And they're not giving up. And so we've got to fight back harder and smarter, and we've got to finally win this. So thank you, Karen, for all that you're doing. Thank you, Heroic Media. Look forward to working with you more in the coming weeks and months. And thank you all for joining us today for this new episode of Explicitly Pro-Life. Make sure you subscribe, share this episode with friends, especially those in your community who you just want to entice to get more active, to get more savvy with their pro-life outreach, and just encourage them to keep going forward. Thanks, guys.